very good call with Prime Minister Carney of Canada yesterday morning.
Yes.
Actually, Canada is taking away some retaliatory tariffs.
He's removing his tariffs, yeah.
Exactly.
He's removing his retaliatory tariffs, which I thought was nice. And we're going to have another call soon.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a very good call.
You're getting closer towards an
Well, I like
agreement on
him.
trade?
I like him. You know, look, I'm fighting for the United States. Canada and Mexico have taken a lot of our business over the years, over 25, 30 years, especially during the Biden years. They took a lot of our business, and it's basically all coming back into the United States now. Well, hot as a pistol, and it's coming back in. Because of tariffs and the incentives we give, it's coming back. And it's impossible, I think, for another country to stop it. And we are working on something. We want to be very good to Canada. I like Carney a lot. I think he's a good person. And we had a very good talk yesterday.
Throughout our negotiations with the United States on a new trade and security relationship, the objectives of Canada's new government have been constant. First, to protect Canadian workers and their families. Second, to reinforce the competitiveness of Canadian businesses. And thirdly, to build the strongest economy in the G7. Our negotiations with the United States have been taking place as the U.S. has been in the process of fundamentally transforming all of its trading relationships. This new U.S. trade policy has several motivations: to raise tariff revenues, to protect strategic industries, to encourage foreign investment in the United States, and to change trade and non-trade policy in U.S. partners. And to these ends, the United States has announced a series of trade actions. Those began near the start of this year with the so-called IEEPA tariffs against Canada and Mexico based on U.S. concerns about the border and fentanyl trafficking. Those were quickly followed by reciprocal tariffs on every U.S. trade partner and very high sectoral tariffs applied globally on strategic industries, including steel, aluminum, autos, and copper. The United States has also imposed substantial trade actions on the Canadian lumber industry. Now, in recent weeks, the United States has agreed a series of trade deals with a variety of countries. And these deals have several aspects in common. First, baseline tariffs that cover a broad range of goods and services that are substantially higher than those U.S. tariffs that existed before. In fact, the average U.S. tariff rate on the world has jumped from just over 2% at the end of last year to almost 16%, 8 times higher, 16% currently. Those trade deals with other countries also have limited or no relief from those sectoral tariffs in those strategic industries such as steel and autos. They include substantial commitments by the U.S. trade partners for investments in the United States and significant unilateral trade liberalization measures by U.S. trade partners. As a result of these developments, the breadth and the depth of the changes in U.S. trade policy have become more fully apparent. Specifically, under the new U.S. approach, countries must now buy access to the world's largest economy through a combination of tariffs, investments, unilateral trade liberalization, and policy changes in their home markets. Now, as in previous trade disputes, Canada has implemented a series of retaliatory tariffs. Their objectives have been to protect Canadian workers and businesses and to incentivize a negotiated settlement with the United States. Few other countries followed suit. In a positive and very important development earlier this month, just a few weeks ago, the United States reaffirmed a core commitment to our free trade agreement, CUSMA, by reinforcing that those Canadian exports to the United States that are compliant with that agreement, that are compliant with CUSMA, will not be subject to U.S. IEEPA tariffs. Now, there's a lot of acronyms in that paragraph, so let me try to summarize what that actually means. As a result of that decision by the United States, the actual U.S. tariff rate on Canadian goods is 5.6%. Compare that to the 16% global average. That remains the lowest amongst all of the United States trading partners. And more than 85% of Canada-U.S. trade is now tariff-free. So let's be absolutely clear. Canada currently has the best trade deal with the United States. And while it's different from what we had before, it is still better than that of any other country. So as we work to address outstanding trade issues with the United States, it's important, it's vital. We do everything we can to preserve this unique advantage for Canadian workers, Canadian businesses. And doing so will require both building on a soon-to-be revised CUSMA, our free trade agreement with the U.S. and Mexico, as well as developing a new form of trade and security partnership with the United States. In this context, and consistent with Canada's commitment to CUSMA, I'm announcing today that the Canadian government will now match the United States by removing all of Canada's tariffs on U.S. goods specifically covered under CUSMA. Soyons clairs. Le Canada a en ce moment le meilleur accord commercial avec les États-Unis.
Canada has the best free trade agreement with the
Il
U.S.
est différent des accords du passé.
Yes, it is different from past agreements, but it is already better than what the U.S. has with every other country.
Nous nous affirmons à régler les enjeux commerciaux
We are
en
ensuring
suspens
that we
avec les
will settle
États-Unis.
outstanding trade
Et
matters
pendant
with the
ce
U.S.
temps, il est important de faire
During
tout
that
ce que
time,
nous pouvons pour
it is critical that we do everything we
l'unique
can
avantage que nous
to
avons
preserve the
pour
only
les travailleurs
advantage that we
canadiens
have
et leurs familles.
for Canadian workers and their families.
Nous devrons donc nous appuyer sur la CM.
That means we will have to build on CUSMA, which will soon be reviewed, and develop a new form of trade and security partnerships. In this context, and consistent with Canada's commitment to CUSMA, I am announcing today that the Canadian government will now match the United States by removing all of Canada's tariffs on U.S. goods specifically covered under CUSMA. This decision will take effect on September 1st, 2025.
This decision will take effect, September 1st of this year. So in short, the situation we're in now is that Canada and the United States have reestablished free trade for the vast majority of our goods. Canada will retain our tariffs on steel, aluminum, and autos as we work intensively with the United States to resolve the issues there. Indeed, our focus is squarely on these strategic sectors and the future. The Canadian government will begin our preparations for the CUSMA review process that is due next year by launching new consultations starting next month to assess Canadian priorities in the new global trade environment. And in addition, following my conversation with the President of the United States yesterday, Canada and the United States will intensify our discussions to address current trade challenges in those strategic sectors and to seize major immediate opportunities for us both in trade, investment, and security. There are many such opportunities. Les États-Unis constituent l'économie la
The
plus
United
importante
States
et la plus
represents the most important and most dynamic economy in the world, and Canada is one of its most important trading partners. Canada is the second largest foreign investor in the United States, and a great many of our companies are critical to complex supply chains that stimulate American competitiveness. Canada will undertake a transformation of its military and security capabilities to defend Canadians and will make investments that will create many, many opportunities to establish new partnerships in defense and security.
As we develop our new trade relationship with the United States, Canada will continue to take all measures necessary to support Canadian workers, our businesses, and our consumers. To address challenges in strategic sectors from agriculture to autos, the Canadian government will soon announce a new comprehensive industrial strategy that protects Canadian jobs, boosts Canadian competitiveness, buys Canadian goods, and diversifies Canadian exports. In parallel, we are focused on building our strength here at home, building Canada strong. The Canadian government will soon select the first in a series of new nation-building projects that will connect and transform our economy. We will catalyze investment and create higher-paying careers through our new defense industrial strategy. We'll transform Canadian strategic sectors that are being severely impacted by U.S. trade. We'll work to double the pace of home building in Canada, and in the process, create a new Canadian housing industry. And we will develop new and stronger partnerships throughout the world. For decades, as a result of a series of trade agreements, starting with the Free Trade Agreement of the 1980s, the Canadian and the U.S. economies have become steadily more integrated, continually more deeply connected. As I've emphasized in recent months, that steady process of integration is now over. And as a result, some of our historic strengths have become vulnerabilities. We can and must adapt to this new reality. That means concentrating on trade, investment, and security partnerships that preserve our sovereignty. And it means striking new trade deals that are robust to different economic circumstances, different governments, because of the mutual benefits to both countries. In all these ways, Canada will move from reliance to resilience, building our strength at home, developing new markets abroad, creating new opportunities for Canadian workers and businesses as we build the strongest economy in the G7.
We have to judge Mr. Carney by his performance, and not by the standards I set, by the ones that he set out for himself. So let's do that today. First, I was happy to hear that he got the President on the phone. I know that Mr. Carney has been trying to do that now for about a month, and today the President accepted his call. And the Prime Minister took the opportunity to make a series of very generous concessions to President Trump. And I was expecting that when the call was reported that we'd find that President Trump had given us something in return, that Mr. Carney, being the negotiator he promised he would be, that he would get something after giving something. But not so. Today we learn that it has been yet another capitulation and climb down by Mark Carney. His elbows have mysteriously gone missing.
Hello everyone, I welcome you back again to my channel. Honestly, I can't believe that it is more than 2 weeks I last uploaded on this channel. Anyways, still on the trade war tariff, you've heard everything, and it's like this matter is not going to end anytime soon. Canada is scrapping some retaliatory tariffs, a major concession aimed at cooling trade tensions with the United States. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced on Friday, that is last Friday as at the time of making this video. I got this news online, so kindly do your research. So let me continue. We have the best deal of anyone in the world right now, Carney told reporters in Ottawa, noting that the average U.S. tariff rate on Canadian goods is 5.6%, the lowest among America's trading partners. Today, the government of Canada is harmonizing tariffs with the U.S. Canada had targeted imports of U.S. goods that comply with the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement with a 25% tariff as a response to a trade dispute initiated by President Donald Trump's March tariffs on Canadian products. We all know this already. Energy and critical minerals. Canadian tariffs on U.S. imports of steel, aluminum, and autos remain unchanged. The move marks a sharp turn from Carney's elbows up mantra, which cast him as a bulwark against Trump's unjustified trade war. In fact, did you listen to what Pep Oliver said? He said the elbow has gone missing. Honestly, this whole thing is just becoming interesting. Anyways, I'm always hoping for the best for the country. And thanks so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Bye.